Hi, welcome to the QMS channel. I'm Tracy Ryan from QMS Certification, and today I'm going to talk about the difference between an internal auditor and an external auditor. But first, don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to receive notifications. Well, first of all, it is important to understand that an internal auditor is an auditor from your organization or a consulting firm, depending on the criteria defined by your organization. The internal auditor will rely on ISO 19011, which is a standard of auditing principles and guidelines, in addition to the standard by which the company is certified. The external auditor, in addition to following ISO 19011, also follows the regulatory requirements of ISO IEC 17021, which is a specific standard for certifiers. The internal auditor conducts audits within the organization in the sectors based on the reference standard ISO 9001, ISO 14001, ISO 45001, etc., to detect improvements and possible non-conformities. Their focus is always on the continuous improvement of the management system. The external auditor, in turn, will verify the compliance of the management system. Of course, they can also point out improvements and identify nonconformities, but the main objective is to assess whether the system fully meets regulatory requirements. A little more about the internal auditor. The internal auditor can also be used to evaluate suppliers, depending on the criteria defined by the organization. He cannot audit his own department or the processes for which he is responsible. Therefore, it is important that the organization has at least 2 internal auditors, so that one does not have to self-audit, or that it hires a consulting firm. The objective is to assess whether the processes comply with regulatory criteria, whether they are being followed in accordance with established procedures, and whether they are aligned with the company's strategic guidelines. The internal auditor focuses primarily on continuous improvement and preparing the organization to undergo the certification audit. Internal auditors are often more critical, as they know the organization well and are aware of its strengths and weaknesses. I always say that the internal auditor acts as a mock entrance exam. It is training to ensure that when the certification audit arrives, the company is prepared. The external auditor, on the other hand, acts on behalf of the certification body. They must be someone completely outside the organization, precisely to maintain impartiality. They cannot have any commercial or family ties or any other relationship that could interfere with their independence. This auditor does not know your company beforehand, so they base their assessment on the regulatory requirements of the reference standard and the organization's own documents and procedures, verifying that everything is in compliance. The main function of the external auditor is to assess the compliance of the management system and decide whether certification will be granted or maintained, whether in an initial, maintenance, or recertification audit.
In summary, the internal auditor may be affiliated with the organization, but cannot audit their own department. The external auditor is completely independent and impartial. The internal auditor can focus more attention on fragile areas in accordance with management guidelines. The external auditor follows the audit plan defined by the certification body. Both work based on objective evidence, follow ethical principles, and must master both the reference standard and the ISO 19011 guidelines on audits. I hope this video has helped you understand the main differences between internal and turn on the notifications. See you next time.